Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the May 9th Finance Committee of the State Bar. As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded. I want to welcome our new committee members as well, and ask our committee coordinator, Mimi Harvey, if she would please call the roll.
Bratton, Buenaventura,
Present.
Good,
Here.
Soul,
Present.
Tony.
Present.
Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
Okay, a quorum being now established. The next item on the agenda is the call for public comment. The State Bar staff will endeavor to try to ensure that we get public commenters in the order in which they appear. For those of you that are following the meeting via Zoom, if you would please use the raise hand function. For those of you that may be calling in, *9 will get you into the queue. We do have a limited time for public commenters. The committee uses a 3-minute rule as it relates to that. And just wondering, Ms. Harvey, if we have any members of the public wishing to comment.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we do have two. The first one being Michael Strandberg.
All righty. Are we ready for Mr. Strandberg?
Give me one moment. Okay, he is now unmuted.
Mr. Sternberg, please.
Can you hear me okay?
We can, sir.
Thank you. Good afternoon, committee. I have shown up at public comment both at the last Board of Trustees meeting and at the last Audit Committee meeting to complain about the misconduct investigation process at the bar. Specifically, I brought up the fact that the bar has file size limitations on the website that are absurdly low, and that the bar refuses to take evidence, whether by the website or whether by mailing it in. I also called out misconduct by Melanie Dorian, who was an intake lawyer, who lied on a closeout letter related to evidence I had tried to submit. What I said at the last Audit Committee meeting was that I was going to come to every meeting from now on at public comments and make a record of my complaints so that there's no plausible deniability among anybody involved, institutions or individuals. So today I'm going to start that process and talk about the now 4-year abduction of my children and the fact that it's gone on for 4 years simply because of judicial and professional misconduct, which has gone uninvestigated for 4 years. In order to understand my case, you first have to know that I'm a Nevada citizen. My family law case is in Santa Clara County, California, because a case was filed there in 2012 by mother. We mutually agreed to dismiss that case, and in fact, we executed the dismissal twice, but apparently both of our lawyers were so incompetent that that never happened, a mistake I didn't find out about until 6 years later when my kids were abducted. My attorney at the time was Michelle Bruneau, bar number 186911, who failed to ensure that that dismissal had been properly executed. Instead of that dismissal being filed, apparently a quote unquote stipulated judgment that I never stipulated to was instead filed, and my attorney at that time did nothing about it. Again, didn't find out about it until 6 years later. I contend that that judgment is void on due process grounds, but regardless, all it says is that we have joint legal, joint physical custody of the children, and I'm the father. 6 years later, my children were living primarily with me in Las Vegas pursuant to a private agreement with the mother, because that's how we'd been operating ever since we thought the case had been dismissed. The transition to Las Vegas, back home to Las Vegas, happened after she got a DUI with the kids in the car, 2.5 times the legal limit. So we mutually agreed to move the kids back to Las Vegas. She went to rehab. As soon as she got a plea deal with the El Dorado County District Attorney, she began scheming behind my back to get the kids relocated back to California.
You have 27 seconds.
I know this from financial records that I've obtained after discovery. In March of 2019, she hired Crystal Aishelman, bar number 278981. And since I'm down to 20 seconds, at the next public comment, I will talk about how I complained about his misconduct, including failure to serve, and how Scott Karp, bar number 274682, refused to investigate and claimed in a closeout letter that failure to serve is not misconduct, which of course is laughable.
Mr. Sternberg, your time has expired, and I do appreciate your testimony, and I guess we will continue to hear from you in some of the other public comment periods, and so we'll await your continuation.
Next, we have Benjamin Kahn.
Hello, thank you. I wanted to speak about the admissions fee increases that are being proposed. The fee increases do not appear to have any more of a record established of efforts to get funding from alternative sources besides passing it on to the demographic that can afford to bear it the least. And it also doesn't seem to have a good reflection of even the costs of the programs at the moment as they would need to be in order to address pending rules revision initiatives or the need to bring at least testing accommodations into compliance. For these reasons, I oppose at this time the fee increases for admissions. Thank you.
Mr. Cohn, thank you for your public comment. It is my understanding that today we actually will not be taking action on the admissions fees. And so clearly we'll take your comments under advisement. Ms. Harvey, any additional public commenters?
Yes, we have another hand raised, Ben.
Sorry, we unfortunately don't have your last name there, but please, you may proceed.
Yes, hello, good afternoon. I just wanted to make a public comment that you guys should do a better job of protecting the public from misconduct. I did make a complaint with you guys before, and when I did, my former attorney, Valerie Houghton, she had me hacked, stalked, and she had physically assaulted because I complained that she was forcing my children to be sexually abused, and you guys didn't do anything about it. I mean, I had to file a voluntary dismissal of my complaint because the assaults were so horrific, and and then I filed a subsequent complaint about this because the sexual abuse of my children is ongoing, and Valerie Houghton is still assaulting me, and I sent you guys all the evidence, and you guys sent back a letter stating that that she didn't violate the professional code of ethics, or I forget what the exact term was of your policy, but so I did appeal it, and I hope that it's still, the matter is still pending, and I hope that you guys will actually do something about it, because no child deserves that, and no parent deserves to be assaulted in such a horrific manner. I mean, she's poisoned me so many times that my testicles have atrophied, the shape of my face has changed, all my organs are damaged. I mean, it's just terrible, and she's doing it. I mean, she's not being secretive about all the threats and everything that she's been doing to me and my kids. And I've given you all those social media posts that she's directed towards me, and still, I mean, nothing's happening. And so I sincerely hope that you guys do a better job with this kind of stuff. And thank you for hearing me.
So I think he's completed his public comment. I think the only thing I would just sort of say is, given some of the language that was used in that particular last public comment, you know, if we do have the any sort of additional information about that would be interesting. It would be of interest to ensure the fact that that's being investigated to the conclusions that it needs to come to. Any additional public comment, Ms. Harvey?
No additional public comment at this time.
All righty. With that, I think the next item on the agenda is the chair's report. I just would just make note of the fact that we are going to be dealing with a number of fee increases today that will then get reported out for action by the full board. The Finance Committee will be making recommendations regarding those fee increases, and then we'll also be going into closed session. Many of the fee increases that are going to be discussed are things that have been previously brought before us that we had received some initial sort of back and forth and information regarding. In some cases, some of the fee increases or suggestions were put out for public comment. And so with that, I think we are ready to move on to item number A, which is approval of the final proposal for general fund service fee increases and discussion of proposed admission fee increases. I do believe that a couple members of the committee do have some statements they would like to make prior to the deliberations around this particular item. Ms. Good, please.
Yes, with respect to this item, I will not be participating in and recuse myself from any discussion or decision with respect to the fees concerning LLPs or MCLE provider certification due to financial interests. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other committee members needing to make statements? Very good. So the item is before us. Ms. Montoya Chica, I think you are here to present, correct?
Yes, that is correct. I will be presenting the agenda item, the only agenda item in open session today, the general fund fee increase recommendations. Before I start, though, I want to introduce some of you who may not have seen some of the faces in here that will help me co-present. We have Andrew Conover and Lawrence Liao. They have been diligently and spent countless hours working on the fee analysis, and they're the ones that have worked in the details with the respective offices on these fee programs. So Lawrence is going to help me co-present. Also included in here is Erica Doherty, and I think we're waiting for maybe Steve somewhere out there waiting to be in. So Erica and Steve Mowat, who will be joining shortly, are also available should any of the committee members have detailed questions on the various programs that we're going to cover. And Brady's also joining. There's a change that we need to make to one of the resolutions, but we will address it once we get to it.
Very good.
So I'm going to present my, I'm going to share my screen and make a presentation. So please let me know once you see it. Okay. Is it showing correctly? Can someone confirm?
Yes.
That? Yes. Okay, great. So I want to give a little bit of background. Arnie already mentioned as to kind of what we presented in the past and where we are today. We first started this fee analysis for all of the programs that charge fees. This presentation will focus in particular on the general fund programs. These are all the programs that we started analyzing last year. We first presented it in July to this finance committee. And again, we brought it back in November to kind of present the final proposal, except for two, which was the limited liability partners program and the MCLE provider certification programs. These two programs, we wanted to get stakeholder comments. So in November, we brought that update to this finance committee. And subsequently, we went out and asked stakeholder comment for these two programs to get input on our proposed changes. We've now obviously received that comment back, and we have now recommendations or final recommendations for increased of the fee increase for these two programs. And we are going to ask, one of the action items of this meeting is to have the Finance Committee select one of the two options for the Limited Liability Partners program that we will be covering in a subsequent slide. So as I said today, these are the 5 programs that we need to be, that we want to ask for approval to increase fees. LLP program, deciding between one of the two options we will present. This is also actually in response to the state auditor's recommendation, the report that was released in April. They did recommend for us to increase fees to fully cover cost of services anywhere in the general fund. And really the intent of that recommendation was so that we use less mandatory revenue that's currently being used to subsidize programs that are operating at a deficit. We do have several programs that are operating at a deficit, and obviously the general fund has to subsidize that. The recommendations included here do not include 2 fees in today's proposal. Those are programs that we will revise and bring at a later time for fee increases. And just really high level, it's also documented in the agenda, but the impact to the budget of increasing these fees to the general fund would be an increase of approximately $1.7 million, depending on certain options that are selected, but roughly about $1.7 million increase in revenues if we are able to increase the fees that we are currently proposing today. So right now I'm going to pass it over to Lawrence, who's going to go over the methodology review that we've used to assess all of these fees, as well as cover in more detail, a couple of the programs coming up.
Great, thank you, Araceli. Just a high-level overview. The way we looked at revenue was very straightforward. We looked at 4 years prior, looking at the trends on the applicants or the payers, and then we extrapolated a projection of the revenues by looking at those counts times the current fee, and that got us the revenue. On the expense side, we looked at the program labor costs as well as the benefits, so a fully loaded headcount cost at the time. And then we looked at on a program basis, which people, how much time they worked on each program, and then we multiplied that by the like I mentioned, the fully burdened cost for each headcount, each FTE. And then we looked at the indirect costs based on the 22 budget for San Francisco and LA. And then we looked at the other external costs, which are the other costs that include temp and contractors, building operation services, supplies, et cetera. And one of the other things that we looked at 22 budget as the starting point, and then we made adjustments for any one-time items. So we excluded those one-time items if they weren't going to be run rated, and then we also added any items that would potentially be future costs that would extend, beyond the next couple of years. So that would be added to the run rate. And that's how we got to the revenue less the expenses to determine whether or not there was a gap or not for each of the programs. Some of the other considerations that we looked at were whether or not certain programs needed increases in resources to address service level requirements, to improve service levels, as well as we looked at other states and what they charged for similar programs to see if we were in line with other states. And the last piece was the general counsel. The advice was regarding the ability to broadly consider other costs providing services. So whether or not we were able to, how we would charge for each of the programs. Slide. So just getting into the general fund specifically for limited liability partners, and this is the one where we would need you to pick a recommendation so we can present to the board. So here are the two options, and just to give you a flavor of the comments that we received from the stakeholders of the 6 respondents on the 2 options that we presented in November, and those options were to remove the cap for both options, and then one option had a fee increase and one option did not have a fee increase, but they both had the removal of the cap. As you can see, most the comments were in favor of increasing the cap but not eliminating it altogether. So here are the 2 options that you have. And as again, we can see that the cap and one option was increasing the cap from 2,500 to 15,000, and then increasing the current fee from 100 to 110, and on the renewals, 75 to 85. So that is where the limited liability partner fee increase proposal or recommendation stands as today. As far as the MCLE provider, the stakeholder comment summary, just to give you a flavor again, about half of the 31% of responders reported that they would be unable to, they were concerned that the fee increases would affect their ability to provide MCLE in California. And at the time of the fee increase that was sent out to public comment, these fees included an increase on existing registration and renewals, adding a new fee for late registration and renewals, and this potential new attendance and administration fee, which we are currently not recommending. And I think the general consensus on the comments was that they were negative, and these negative responses from half of the respondents of these respondents of the 31% could be disproportionately impacted by the inclusion of this new potential attendance and administration fee that we're not recommending. So I think the general consensus that perhaps the negative feeling of the fee increases perhaps is a lot higher than what it would be if we did not include this third portion of this third new potential fee that we're not going to be recommending. Some of the inputs that we got from the fee drove us to make some recommendations. As you can see, this new fee category, like a for-profit and not-profit, to address some of the concerns that many MCLE providers have. As you can see, some of them provide the MCLE for free, and some offer it to their employees on a limited training budget. And their concern is that this means they may not be able to provide the MCLE if the fee increases go through. And on the subject of the new attendance and administration fees, the main concern regarding this new fee that we are again not recommending is the providers are concerned that some of these restrictions as far as the late attendance reporting for information attorneys that they don't have direct control over would significantly impact their ability to provide the information on time. So that was kind of the feedback that we've gotten from the stakeholders. So here are the existing fees, as you can see, for the registration and the renewals. And you can see we've looked at it from a for-profit and not-profit different categories. And you can also see for the cost of the applications, we are now removing this legal specialization fee that was an add-on previously that now we're going to include it regardless. So that's an added benefit. You can see that we're removing those add-ons, and then we're just providing it outright for anyone that has the application and renewal. And then going to these new, please next slide. These are the new fees for the certificate, for the registration for the late fees. So you can see these are new fees, and they're essentially the same for-profit and not-profit.
And I would just highlight on the existing fees, I think we applied about a 25% discount, if you will, for the nonprofit entities.
Thank you, Araceli. Yep, that's about right.
Okay. Now I'm going to quickly talk about the admissions fund programs. The admissions fund, this is purely a discussion. We're not asking for any action item from the committee at this point. It's really just to kind of give a little bit of an update on where we are with the admissions comments. All of the admissions fees that we are proposing an increase are currently out for public comment. The public comment is going to close on May 15th. So in our board meeting later on this month, we will provide more details on what those fees are and the comments that we have received. There are generally two categories, two buckets that we've split the fees. One is, law study exam and law school regulation, and the second bucket, if you will, is the attorney special admissions. For law study exam and law school regulations, we do have two options. One reflects basically the break-even point, what is the cost of providing the service? That's one option of the fees we have out there for common. And then the second option reflects a more modest increase. That second option, though, does not eliminate the structural deficit that admissions is currently in, and it's not going to, it will reduce it, but it will not eliminate it. So the reality is that we will likely, require significant cuts in operational expenses if we go with option 2 as the final proposal that we will bring later in July. We did wanted to share a little bit of the comments, an overview of the comments that we have received to date. As you can see, some of them, are here about, the financial burden of increasing fees on law students, recent graduates, low-income groups, concerns about the impact of fee increases on diversity and inclusion in the profession, lack of reciprocity with other states. I won't read all of them, but these are some of the overview that we have received so far. And again, when we meet later on this month, we will provide another update on more comments, as by that time the public comment period will have closed. And that is, I'll stop sharing, pardon. That is the end of my presentation. If there's any questions, happy to answer.
Questions for the team? Mr. Tony, please. Mark, you're on mute.
I appreciate the presentation and having the materials ahead of time. What I'd like to do is go back through the fee proposals. If you could put those back up, the first setup. And Araceli, these are questions that I previewed with you that I'm going to ask now.
Did you want to do the limited liability partnership?
If we could, since that's the one that we have to do, to make a decision on, Mr. Tony, would you be okay if we walk through other questions and then and maybe save that one for last? You okay with that?
Yeah. So let's look at the other fees.
Yeah.
Okay, so these are this is the proposal for limited liability partnership.
I think, Araceli, the ask was that we start with the other fees. Mark, the only fees that are in this deck are LLP and MCLE provider. Did you want to talk about fees that are in the item rather than in, actually, I think maybe you have slides at the end, Araceli.
I do have slides at the end if you want to go through.
I just want to make sure, Mr. Tony, is that what you want to do?
My question is, what is the actual cost? What would the fees have to be if we were to follow the state auditor recommendation that fee increases fully cover the cost of service? I want to see what those are in comparison to what's being proposed.
So I do have a slide that I can show you what it's going to show you a comparison of the current fees and what would the break-even fees be, which is essentially the cost. And hopefully it's not too busy, but this is all of the programs that we are currently asking for a fee increase. You have your current column, and then you'll see the break-even fees for a lot of these are, Lawrence, is this? Yes, this is.
I guess I would say, Mark, for the general fund, I think looking at it this way is a little bit problematic, because based on conversations that we had with OGC, in part, we're looking at the entirety of these fees. And so, if some may not break even, others are generating a surplus. So it's not that we aren't following the auditor's recommendation. I think where we're not following the auditor's recommendation with respect to the general fund is that there's two fees that we're not recommending increasing at all. That's mandatory fee arbitration and the lawyer referral service fees. Because I do not believe that if you look at the rest of these general fund fees in their entirety, we're breaking even on these fees. Maybe not in MCLE provider, but I don't think so. We're introducing a host of new fees that don't even exist now. So I don't know, if someone from finance wants to correct me, but I don't think here we have an issue of not charging a break-even level.
Well, that's different from what we discussed earlier in the fall. These proposals look very similar to what was proposed in the fall. And in our discussions in the fall, it appeared to me that we were not charging fees and not proposing fees that would cover the cost. So this sounds different to me.
Mark, Leah is correct. I'm just, trying to look at my support here, and we are, for some of the programs, except for 2 or 3, they are in a deficit position even with this fee proposal.
Right. And I'm trying to figure out how much of a deficit is it?
Right now, or with the fee proposal?
With the fee proposal, it is my perception that with the fee proposal in front of us, that some of these items still have a deficit.
Okay, so with the fee proposal, so outside of the mandatory fee arbitration and lawyer referral services, those are in a deficit position, correct? And we are not recommending any fee increase. MCLE for attorneys, that will still be in a deficit position of a little bit under 500,000, even with the recommendation. And actually, so those 3, MCLE attorney, all of the other ones will put us in the black.
Okay, so what is the rationale for not increasing the lawyer referral and the other item, sorry, I just can't remember them all, that is in a deficit?
It's outlined in the memo. One of those, and maybe both of them, require statutory change to modify the fee. But setting that aside, both of those programs are undergoing a very significant restructure at this time. So I just don't believe it's appropriate for us to really modify the fee structure. We could, but they're both undergoing a lot of programmatic and operational changes that I think will change the nature of how much the fee needs to be changed altogether. So that's the basis for that recommendation. We could go back, reassess that position, and bring forward a recommendation on those 2 programs, but we have not developed that because of the operational work that's being done.
Okay.
I do want to make sure that, Mr. Tony, please continue.
No, go ahead.
I do want to make sure I'm clear, because I think I was under a similar perception as Mr. Tony, given some of the prior discussions that we had. Are we now saying that with the increases that we are proposing to the various fees, that we're break even, except for 3 of the particular fees that Araceli just indicated?
Well, maybe we're having a communication breakdown. 'Cause overall, in our general fund, we're
Right.
at a very significant structural deficit.
Absolutely.
That's related to our licensing fee that we cannot change on our own, right? The
Correct.
fee bill licensing fee.
Correct.
If we look at the universe of these general fund fees, service fees, which is distinct from the licensing fee, my understanding of the work we've done is that setting aside lawyer referral and mandatory fee arb, which we haven't dealt with, if you look at the totality of what we are proposing to bring in terms of new revenue with these fee increases, we do address costs. So, I mean, if Araceli thinks something different, that's news to me. So I think we do address the cost for these fees that we're proposing today in their totality, because some were generating more revenue than the cost of providing that specific service. So you can look at those fees in the aggregate. We haven't dealt with LRS or MFA. So that is my understanding of what we are bringing forward today, not that there continues to be a shortfall if you look at them in their totality.
No, that's right, Leah, that's right.
So like for the LLP and LLP is a great example. Regardless of the option you choose, we're going to generate a significant amount of revenue. That new revenue, more than the cost of that particular very narrow function, that new revenue will support other areas where we may still fall short, even with the fee increase recommended.
Got it.
So we are certainly generating, I think, sufficient revenue with this proposal. Again, you may direct us to come back with a proposal on lawyer referral service and mandatory fee arbitration.
Mr. Tony, you have more, others have questions as well?
I'm gonna hold my other questions later.
Okay. Mr. Tony, are your other questions related to the LLP? Because I'd like to move there if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. That's great. Thank you.
Okay, good. So Araceli, maybe if you could, if we could put that particular slide up, because that is a decision point for the committee to make a determination as to whether essentially cap or no cap
Yeah.
on that fee. And I do understand that there are some of the other trustees that may not be able to vote or speak to this particular issue.
So let me know once you see it. It should come up in any minute. Is it up yet?
Yes, we do see it, Araceli. We
Okay,
see
so
it.
these are the two options, right, for the limited liability partnership that we are asking the committee to decide on one of the two options. They're both increasing the fees for application and for applications. One, the main difference, one having a cap, raising the cap to 15,000. One does not have a cap. Both increase the fees.
Got it. You know, I definitely want to allow for other committee members to express their opinions about cap or no cap, but it is my understanding that you know, many of the entities that we're talking about that have, you know, partners that would exceed this $15,000 cap, or some of the largest firms that we have in the state that generate quite a bit in revenue, and so I would just say that my inclination would be to not have a cap, but you know, I am just one vote on this committee, and I am clearly interested in hearing what others might have to say. No, Mr. Tony.
I'd like confirmation that my math is right, and if I'm doing it wrong, to be clarified. So if I take 15,000 and I think I divide 15,000 by 55, I think I come up with 272 and change. And so first of all, am I right in saying that if there's a cap of 15,000, that would cover the first 272 partners?
Sorry, Mark. So you divided 15,000 by.
It says 55 on the sheet I'm looking at.
Yeah, that's the way you would do it. But then you have to, yes, that's the way you would do it.
Okay.
First two partners is 110. I don't even know why it's structured that way. Yes.
Well,
$55 per
right.
partner.
Yeah, you divide the first two, the 110 by 2, you still get 55.
Yeah.
Right? So, look, I got a little calculator up, so I'm just saying. So, if we don't have a cap, it would only impact those LLPs whose number of partners exceeds 272.
Which
that
is nine LLPs, yeah.
okay? And each of those has more than 272 partners. I'm
Yeah.
correct? Okay, all right. I just want to make sure I'm using that, I'm citing this as my support of what Trustee Sowell suggested, that I am fine with proposed option number 2. I do not see the need to cut a break to LLPs whose number of partners exceeds 272.
Any other any board members of the Board of Trustees have thoughts on this that are obviously that are capable of making comments on this particular item? Very good. I think with that, I think the recommendation that we would be moving forward, and clearly we're going to have to take a vote on this, but the recommendation that we would be moving forward is that for the limited liability partnerships, that there would be no cap on the number of no cap per number of partners. Okay. Mr. Tony, I think this is the only, unless there are other questions, I think this was the only fee by which we had to make a decision relative to options that were presented by the staff. And if you do have other questions that you'd like to propose, please feel free.
Yeah, when we are on the agenda item of looking at the proposed motion,
Okay.
I do have something to recommend.
Okay.
Mimi, do you have, can you share the recommendation?
So from the chair's perspective, and I don't want to speak for, if I get this wrong, please, someone correct me. I don't think we've had any objections to what it is that the staff is recommending at this particular point in terms of the various fee increases. And so I think we are at a point now where we should be able to make a motion relative to the fee structure going forward.
Well, I tell you what, I want to make a statement, then make a motion.
Okay.
I think that 5 years is too long to go without reviewing these fees. It's just too long of a time. It's long enough that I don't know if any of the trustees present were here 5 years ago for this discussion. I was not. Each of you can reflect for yourself, but I don't think so. I think a lot of the leadership of the finance department was not here 5 years ago. So if you wait 5 years, you lack continuity. And actually, it's been 6 years because it's taken us a year to do this. So I think that our policy that is every 5 years, I think that's far too long. Now, if you were to ask me, I would want this done at least every 2 years. However, because I spent some time with our CEO Montoya Chico prior to this meeting, having a conversation to get her input into what I was thinking. And she prevailed upon me that every 2 years is extremely burdensome for the finance department, given the staff limitations, and would much prefer that if it were shortened, it'd be to 3 years. I still think 3 years is too long, but what I would like to suggest is that I could, because we just get in a hole and then people start complaining. You know, if you don't raise something for years and years, the longer you wait, the more in a hole you get, and the more that people will complain that the increases look huge. A 25% increase always look huge, no matter whether it's 10 years or 5 years, 25, people don't remember that they didn't get an increase the last 6 years. They don't. They remember what's in front of them. So I would like to suggest that we review every 3 years and have an automatic annual adjustment equal to the consumer price index. That way, I would feel we're not getting behind. We're at least keeping pace, and every 3 years, we can look and see how we're doing and whether an additional adjustment is warranted based upon the numbers, the revenue versus the expenses. So what I would like to propose is this motion with the caveat that we would review every 3 years instead of every 5 years, and that there would be an automatic annual adjustment equivalent to the consumer price index. If people want to comment, they're welcome.
I do have a question for the staff team. Our 5-year review of fees, that is, you know, a part of our administrative review or administrative sort of authority. That is not something that is statutorily set or any. That is one of the sort of the regulations or rules that we are using within the board structure itself. Correct?
Right, it's not even reflected at this time in the policy manual. I do know Araceli has a fee review policy agendized for the finance committee meeting later this month. That is consistent with Mark's recommendation to review the fees every 3 years. Is that correct, Araceli?
Yes, the CPI, the reference to the CPI that Mark and I spoke about is something that needs to be considered and added.
So I would just like OGC to weigh in on that. I do believe we have something similar in relation to the assessment of discipline costs, just in a totally different side of the bar. I do believe we have a reference to an adjustment for this for pegged to the CPI or something else. But I just don't know, you know, if OGC thinks we can do an automatic adjustment every year. Yeah, go ahead.
In general, I think the answer would be, you know, where there's an actual cap that we're up against. So, for instance, the PROAC Vice is capped at its current level, so that would require a rule of court. As long as, you know, as long as the increases themselves are permissible under the particular statute or rule of court. On initial thought, I don't see an issue with enacting an automatic increase as long as it's, again, permissible within the limits of each particular authorization of a fee.
Okay.
Other questions or comments? So, Mr. Tony, have you've made a formal motion?
I am moving this motion in front of us with the addition of we review every 3 years and there be an annual adjustment of the fees by the consumer price index.
I'm going to interrupt you really quick, Mark, if you don't mind. So I want to, I had purposely left the first resolution here referencing to the LLP program option, since we were not sure which of the 2 options would be selected. So I think we need to modify the current resolution to say that the finance committee, and feel free to, you know, suggest languages if you don't like what I'm going to say, that the finance committee approved the fee increases for the LLP program Maybe OGC can help me here. Can we put as simple as to say option 2 in this agenda item? Or do we have to be more explicit?
Can you scroll up? As long as option 2 is,
In the agenda item,
Yeah, option 2 in the agenda item was the no cap.
correct.
yeah, that's, you can refer to the agenda item.
Okay,
Mimi,
Proposed option, sorry, I was looking at it, that the finance committee approves fee increases for LLP program as noted in proposed option 2. That would be good. Now, Trustee Tony, are you suggesting that language that you propose to be included here? Or would that be a separate motion? Sorry, was it part of this first resolve that you're suggesting that additional?
No,
I think it'd be a separate resolve clause.
separate. I just sent you a draft, Araceli,
Okay,
for the third one
okay,
that we can stick up here.
okay. And while that's being brought up, Trustee Tony, would you be open to adding if appropriate language towards the end of that would give us an opportunity to analyze whether or not CPI automatic increases would be appropriate. And if they're appropriate, those could be incorporated in the future.
I like your suggestion. Maybe if the language can be if legally permissible or something like that.
Sure.
If that's the spirit of what you're saying. I'm
That's
okay.
that is the spirit. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, that captures one area where there wasn't a fee increase was the late fees, and that's because we're limited by what the legislature did and how we can increase late fees. So if there's a legal restriction.
Fair enough.
Or
obviously-
LLP, right? If it turns out the Supreme Court says they have to approve it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. While that is being, that resolve clause is being added, Mr. Tony, I'll second your motion. I am not sure at this point. We need to see it in front of us.
It's probably a good idea.
you can just copy what I sent, Mimi.
I just need to stop sharing my screen for a moment.
Oh, not a problem.
And sorry, I think I told you Mimi it was resolved, but it's further resolved, so I apologize for that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, while that is being, I think after this, after we take a vote on this particular item, I don't think we have anything else pending in the open session. We do have a closed session, trustees, where I know there will be a discussion about the sale of the building. And I'm not sure yet if that closed session link has been sent to you, but I just want to make sure that folks do know that we'll have another brief discussion in closed session.
And then at the end of annually, Mimi, if you could put comma, what do we say, if legally permissible?
Mm-hmm.
If legally permissible,
If, okay.
if, yeah. And I think this should be all correct now.
Thank you, trustees, for your patience and Ms. Harvey for your quick typing.
Mhm.
So we have a motion, we have a second. I think we're ready to call the roll.
Can you repeat for me that motion in second, please?
So motion by Mr. Tony, seconded by Trustee Sowell.
Bratton, Bonaventura,
Yes.
Good,
I'm recused from this vote as I described earlier. Thanks.
Tony,
Aye.
Saul.
I'm an aye.
That is 3-4, none against, motion carries.
Very good. Thank you, trustees, for that. I believe if there's no more pending business in open session, we're ready to go to closed session.
That's right, and the link has been sent.
Very good. We will see you in closed session.
I think Ernie read off the,
Yeah,
did you?
sorry. Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. Thank you for that reminder, Leah. The Finance Committee will move into closed session now pursuant to Government Code 11126C, subsection 7, to consider items listed on the closed session agenda. And we will convene into closed session and then come back into open session if there are any reportable actions. But the item before us is a discussion item. So with that, let's proceed to closed session.
Thank you.
We are now recording.
The Finance Committee has returned from closed session back into open session. There are no action items to report from our closed session, and with that, I will adjourn the May 9th Finance Committee. Thank you, members, as well as the staff team for your help and participation.
Thank you.
Thank you.